I never thought a quiet afternoon in our new neighborhood would end with a gun pointed at my daughter's face. The barrel gleamed under the Georgia sun, and the woman standing behind it, our HOA president, looked proud, not horrified. That's when I realized peace in Maple Hollow wasn't real. It was control wearing a smile. My name's Marshall Evan Carlisle, Deputy Sheriff, widower. I moved here a year ago hoping to give my 13-year-old daughter Claire a calm place to grow up after her mom passed. I wanted sunlight, routine, safety. What I got was a kingdom ruled by a woman named Linda Wexler, queen of the HOA, master of manipulation. She ran this gated community like a cult of neat lawns and fake politeness. People feared her more than they respected her. Her word was law. Her son Trent was her self-appointed enforcer, 20-something angry, kicked out of college pretending to be security. The day he pointed that gun changed everything. Claire had gone to the pool alone. It was sweltering out. When I heard shouting, I ran. There he was, Trent, sweating, hand shaking, waving that handgun at her like it made him someone important. And Linda stood there, arms folded, watching. "She shouldn't be in there," she said. Her voice sliced through the heat. "Some people just don't belong here." My daughter froze, terrified. I stepped between them, calm but burning inside. "Put it down," I said. "Now." He hesitated, eyes flicking to his mother for permission. She smirked. "You're overreacting, Marshall. He's just protecting community property." I disarmed him before she could blink. Sirens wailed somewhere beyond the gates. For a moment everything was silent except the water lapping at the pool's edge. Linda just stared at me, that smug calm of someone who thought she'd never face consequences. I told her, "You're done." I didn't know yet how deep her corruption ran, but I would soon. The next morning I walked into the HOA office. Oak desk, fake orchids, and a smell like denial. Linda sat behind it as if nothing had happened. "If this is about yesterday's misunderstanding," she said, clicking her pen, the board already reviewed it. No rules were broken. Misunderstanding. Her son had pointed a loaded gun at a child, and she called it paperwork. I dropped the police report on her desk. "This says otherwise." She skimmed it, smiled faintly. "We'll handle it internally. That's HOA code for, we'll bury it." I left before I said something that would cost me my badge. That night the neighborhood group chat lit up. Linda posted an official statement calling it an isolated event involving unauthorized pool access. Unauthorized. She'd turned my daughter into a trespasser. Neighbors responded with polite emojis, nervous affirmations, or silence. Fear disguised as civility. I stared at the screen, then at my reflection in the dark window, and wondered what the hell I'd moved us into. I uploaded my security footage the moment Trent raised the gun to the county's public integrity unit. Not as a complaint, just insurance. Something told me Maple Hollow's version of justice wasn't mine. The next evening my porch light went out. Wires cut cleanly, not ripped. A message. A car idled too long near the gate. I didn't chase it. People like Linda didn't threaten directly. They whispered. They made you question yourself until you bent. The following morning I called the sheriff's office. "Requesting oversight," I said. "Possible HOA interference in an active case." The deputy paused, then said they'd start paperwork. I hung up and looked at the pool shimmering in the distance. That blue surface had been my wife's favorite place to unwind. Now it felt poisoned. 2 days later, a courier in HOA uniform handed me an envelope. Inside, a fine $1,500 for public disruption and defamation of board officials. 10 minutes later, another envelope arrived, suspension of all community privileges. Pool, gym, clubhouse, even parking permits. They were isolating me, making an example. I sat there for a long time, staring at the paper, trying to decide if fighting was worth it. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe moving here had been a mistake. Claire deserved a normal life, not a father chasing ghosts of authority. For a brief second, I almost gave in. Then she asked softly, "Dad, am I in trouble for swimming?" That broke me in the best way. "No, kiddo," I said. "You didn't do anything wrong." And I realized quitting wasn't an option. If I stopped, she'd learn that bullies win when we stay quiet. That night, Mrs. June Holler, my retired teacher neighbor, knocked on my door. "You're not the first," she whispered. "Linda fined a man $2,000 last year for leaving a bike by the mailbox. He moved out a month later." She slid a binder across the table, old HOA budgets. "My nephew's an accountant. Said numbers don't add up." I spent hours combing through the pages. Repeated vendor names, inflated invoices, non-existent maintenance projects. Someone was funneling money Linda's digital signature on every approval. Fraud clear as day. The next afternoon I saw Trent standing near the parking lot, pale and twitchy. When our eyes met, guilt was written all over him. He didn't speak, just slipped a brown envelope under my windshield and left. Inside a USB drive. Security footage from another angle, the HOA office cameras. It showed Linda standing by the pool that day, calm, watching her son raise the gun, her mouth forming two unmistakable words: "Do it." I watched it 3 times, then leaned back staring at the ceiling. This wasn't about my daughter anymore. It was about power twisted and protected. I sent the footage to the integrity unit. Within hours, Linda hit back harder. Another letter from her lawyer, cease and desist, threats of defamation suits. Classic intimidation. I pinned it on my corkboard right next to the sheriff's contact list, evidence, not fear. June called again that evening. "Come by," she said. "I've got more." She laid out pages of records on her dining table. The same contractor billing thousands for security enhancements. Nothing ever installed. "If these are real," I said, "there should be matching purchase orders with the city." She nodded. "Then that's where you'll find your truth." At City Hall, the clerk told me, "You're the second person asking about Maple Hollow this week." A young man dropped off a flash drive. Name I asked. Trent Wexler. My stomach turned. Guilt had turned him into a whistleblower. When I got home that night, Claire was asleep on the couch. The fine notice sat ripped in half on the table. For the first time, I smiled. She wasn't scared anymore. Neither was I. The next morning, I met with Sergeant Mayers from the Integrity Unit. I handed over the binder's invoices and Trent's footage. "You've been busy," he said. "We'll need to verify." "Start with the Wexler accounts," I told him. "There's money missing." He asked why I was personally involved. Because she made it personal when her son aimed a gun at my kid. He didn't ask again. Days passed. Retaliation didn't stop. A red notice appeared on my door, property lien initiated for unpaid fines. I laughed out loud. Linda was using paperwork as a weapon, but she'd underestimated me. I cross-checked her contractors with business licenses. Half didn't exist. The rest all shared one mailing address, a P.O. box under her maiden name. That was the thread I needed. I called Mayers again. "You'll want to expedite that audit," I said. "She's running shell companies." He promised to move fast. That night I sent an anonymous email to every resident. "If you've been fined or threatened by the HOA, contact county oversight. You're not alone." Within an hour, 15 replies came in. By midnight, 58. Stories of intimidation, overcharges, threats of foreclosure. The silence that protected her was cracking. The following week, Trent found me again outside the gym this time. He looked wrecked. "I can't sleep," he said. "She made me do it. She said the gun wasn't loaded." His voice broke. I hit record on my phone. "Say that again." And he did every word, a full confession. When he finished, he whispered, "You'll end this, right?" I nodded. "The truth will." The next day, Linda escalated the war. An emergency expenditure authorization surfaced, $75,000 for security perimeter enhancements. Date, 2 weeks before the pool incident. And that perimeter, her own property. Cameras, fences, alarms, all paid with community money. She wasn't protecting us. She was fortifying herself. I sent the new evidence to Mayers. His reply came quick received. "This changes everything. We're escalating to the DA's office. Don't engage with the HOA directly." But Linda made that impossible. The morning the county auditors arrived, Maple Hollow looked picture-perfect: lawns, trimmed flowers blooming, fear hanging in the air. A white van with the county seal parked outside the HOA office. Investigators stepped out with clipboards. Within minutes, word spread. Curtains twitched. Neighbors gathered at their windows. I watched from my porch as they entered the office. Caroline Finch, the HOA treasurer, pulled up clutching a folder, trembling. "She's been shredding documents since dawn," she whispered. Inside, the investigators confronted Linda. "We'll need full access to all financial records," she snapped. "Anything else is privileged." The lead investigator replied calmly, "Ma'am, records tied to communal funds are public under Georgia statute." For the first time, her mask slipped. She reached for a binder. He stopped her hand. I leaned against the doorframe, silent badge visible at my belt. Her glare could have cut glass. "You think you've won?" she hissed. "You have no idea how this works." "Actually," I said, "I think you mistook management for monarchy." Boxes of files and hard drives left the building. Linda followed, shouting legal threats that sounded more desperate than confident. Across the street, neighbors started clapping, hesitant at first, then louder, a sound like thunder rolling through the cul-de-sac. That night, an anonymous email circulated: emergency residents meeting new leadership. The community pavilion was packed. The same people who'd avoided me now nodded in solidarity. June stood up front, holding printed bylaws. "We're taking our neighborhood back," she said. A clipboard passed around for signatures to recall the board. Then headlights flared outside, Linda's white Lexus. She stepped in, pearls, gleaming fury burning behind her eyes. "You're all making a mistake," she said. "This community was nothing before me." June met her gaze. "It'll be better without fear." Linda laughed, sharp and brittle. "Fear? You think accountability will pay your bills? Without structure, this place will fall apart." I stepped forward. "Structure built on lies never lasts, Linda." Her gaze locked on mine, shaking now. "You brought outsiders in, investigators, media, lawyers. You destroyed us." "No," I said. "I just turned on the light." The crowd erupted. "You stole from us," someone shouted. Another voice, "You used us." Her composure shattered. "You think I did this alone?" she screamed. "You all wanted perfect lawns, quiet streets. I gave you what you asked for." The noise swelled, years of fear boiling over into anger. I raised a hand. "Enough," I said. "We're not here for vengeance. We're here for justice." Caroline stepped forward, voice trembling. "He's right," she said. "I helped her. I signed payments I shouldn't have. I was scared, but no more." Linda stared at her like she'd been betrayed by her own reflection. "You'll regret that," she spat. "Maybe," Caroline said softly, "but at least I won't regret staying silent." The room went quiet. Linda's eyes darted around the crowd, realizing she had no one left. "You'll see," she whispered, backing toward the door. "They'll tear this place down without me." But no one followed her. The next morning, county investigators returned with law enforcement. A public hearing was held at the pavilion, open to residents and media. Linda arrived, and white lawyer at her side, still pretending purity could be worn like armor. The district attorney's rep announced the charges: financial misconduct, intimidation, misuse of authority. Linda was allowed to speak first. "Everything I did was for this community," she said, voice quivering but defiant. "Leadership means making hard choices. This is a witch hunt." I stepped forward. "You built fear, not peace." The DA nodded for me to continue. "My name's Deputy Marshal Carlisle. I moved here for quiet. My daughter was threatened with a gun for using the pool we pay for. Instead of apologizing, this woman retaliated: fines, liens, harassment. She called that leadership. I call it abuse." The DA's rep took a flash drive from my hand and played Trent's confession over the speakers. His trembling voice filled the air. His mother's orders, the forged invoices, the guilt. The crowd went silent. Linda froze, her lawyer paling beside her. "Mrs. Wexler," the DA asked Care to respond to your son's testimony. She didn't. Couldn't. Then came the reading of the findings. "Our investigation confirms significant misuse of HOA funds, falsified invoices, and unauthorized expenditures. Effective immediately, the Maple Hollow HOA board is suspended pending criminal charges." Gasps. Cameras clicked. Officers approached. Linda stumbled back, whispering, "You can't do this." They could. They did. As they read her rights, the crowd erupted again, not angry this time, but relieved. June wiped tears from her eyes. Caroline covered her mouth, shaking, and Trent, standing in the back, looked both broken and free. I stepped outside, the sun sharp against the pool's blue surface. For months that water had reflected fear. Now it mirrored something else, truth. The sound of the cuffs clicking shut echoed across the courtyard. That's where I stopped watching. There's no satisfaction in someone's downfall, just the quiet certainty that justice finally caught up. Because power built on fear always collapses. Eventually, someone stops being afraid.